So today, brothers and sisters, is Cheese Fair Saturday. Cheese Fair Saturday. And today, we commemorate all the holy ascetics of our church. The ascetics. Now, that's kind of a bad word in modern Western culture. It has negative connotations. Tomorrow is Cheese Fair Sunday, known probably most commonly as Forgiveness Sunday. But on this Sunday tomorrow, we also commemorate, not celebrate, but commemorate or bring to mind the exile from paradise. That's one of the themes of tomorrow. And then, of course, Monday, we begin the Great Fast. So what's the connection? What's going on here liturgically, and what message is the church trying to get across to us? So we have ascetics today that we commemorate and exalt. We have the fast beginning on Monday, and in between we have the commemoration of the exile from paradise. So first we have to begin with the exile from paradise. Adam and Eve in the garden. Man was made as the crown of God's creation. On the sixth day of creation, after he had created the whole world, as the crown of this creation, he placed man. And then on the seventh day, he rested. Man's job, in short, was to be a bridge between this created world that God had made in the first 5 days and God himself. Man was placed in between, and he could incline either way. He could incline toward the created world, or he could incline toward God himself. And God endowed him, most importantly, with free will, with freedom. Freedom. This is what especially our Orthodox Christian faith proclaims. Freedom that man has. This incredible freedom that is endowed by God himself. And God laid these two options before him, because God said, I give you one commandment. One rule. You dwell here, you don't have to work. You can eat of the trees without work. You're enjoying intimate communion with God, where God walks among you in the garden. But there's only one rule. And God gave this not as a punishment, but so that man could participate in some small way in his perfection, because man was not yet perfect. He was meant to continue to grow in spiritual progress, to grow in communion with God. And he could do this through observing one commandment. And God gave him this freedom. Observe it or don't observe it. Yes or no. Be obedient to God or don't be obedient to God. This is your free will. Interestingly, God did not give him gradations, degrees of obedience. It was yes to the one rule or no to the one rule. There weren't, well, I could keep it on some days, but not on other days. And well, maybe I could just have a little bite, but not the whole apple. No, these weren't options. There weren't 1,000 choices, which we, the modern in the West, we associate these choices with freedom. This is what we think freedom is. That we can walk into Walmart and we can have 1,000 different choices of toothpaste. This for us is freedom. We have this choice, 1,000 different choices. In reality, in the church's mind, this is slavery. This is slavery. I remember coming back from Greece where you would get toothpaste, you'd go to the pharmacy, they'd say, here are the two kinds of toothpaste we have. You want this one or you want this one? That was it. And I come back to America and I walk into a Walmart and I'm just overwhelmed. I remember being frozen, literally. I couldn't make a decision because there were so many options. This wasn't what Adam had to deal with. Adam had only obey this one commandment or don't, and it's your free will. Incline toward the earthly and the creator or incline toward me. And then this way you could participate in this spiritual progress. Of course, we know, unfortunately, what Adam chose. Out of his own free will, Adam and Eve chose to disobey God. And interestingly here, the fathers say that this one rule that God had given to Adam and Eve wasn't even going to be a permanent rule. It wasn't a permanent rule. It was that it would be allowed to Adam and Eve when God determined the time was right, when they were ready, when they had grown spiritually by being obedient, and then at that time God would allow them to eat of this tree so that at that time it would be beneficial to them. If they ate beforehand, it wouldn't be to their benefit. It would be like if someone told us for our good, it's not good to eat this over here, a whole box of ice cream or something. It's not good for you to eat it at this point. But at later, maybe you could have a little bit of it, right? Then your body will be able to handle it, right? It's something like this. God, it wasn't punishment, it wasn't deprivation, it was simply wait. So we know what happened, and man is cast into exile. And this is brought before us. Now, what about the role of asceticism? Why is it that we are exalting today the ascetics of our church's history? And why is it that we're entering into this great fast on Monday, these acts of asceticism? Well, just as man, Adam and Eve, had disobeyed God through food, now part of the way back is through food. Just as man fell through Eve, the path to man's redemption is through Mary. You see this kind of mirror taking place in the church's mind. So the way back is where we were disobedient regarding food in the beginning. Now we can be obedient regarding food. And here again, it's a binary choice. It's yes or no. The church has laid before us 2,000 years of tradition. This is what the fast is. The fast is from meat and all animal products. That's the fast. The fast doesn't involve, the church's tradition doesn't involve abstaining from Facebook. The church's tradition doesn't involve abstaining from your favorite M&Ms or something like this. These are gradations. These are choices, which we think is part of our freedom. The church doesn't see things in this way. The fast is meat and animal products. The question is, you have free will. God has endowed us all with this radical freedom, and we can say yes or we can say no. That's it. Yes or no. Do the fast as the church has given to us or don't do it. That's fine. Now, if there are some cases where we can't do it, and in fact, the canons of the church themselves say that if we are sick, we are not to fast. The church commands us not to fast if we are sick. So if someone, let's say, is being treated for cancer, then the church would actually tell you, we forbid you to fast. And that is something that, of course, we come to our spiritual father. And we ask our spiritual father, who by default is our parish priest if we don't have someone else, and we ask them and we talk with them and we find something that works for us and that is blessed by the church, that is an obedience to the church. And if we have to modify this fast some way, we do it, but it's in community. It's not an individual choice. We are conforming ourselves to the image that the church gives us. We are submitting our will voluntarily to the church, either through keeping the fast as it's laid out or by going to our spiritual father and getting something that's blessed. This is the purpose of asceticism, this obedience, where Adam and Eve were disobedient in the beginning, man is now obedient. Now also, we have to remember that at the beginning, God made man, and in our modern Western world, we think of this radical separation between the material world and the spiritual world, and that these are two different things. This is a very modern concept. The Orthodox Church does not think like this. Man was created, we say, as a psychosomatic entity, a psychosomatic unit, meaning soul, soma, somatic, body. Soul and body are one. They are tied together by God. The question then is not that the body is bad. The question is, what is going to be the relationship that these two have together, since they're bound together by God? And the question is, which one is going to take control? One has to have 51% control, right? In a marriage, God has ordained that the man will be the head. So one has to have the lead in some way. And the question is, which way are we going to tend? Are we going to tend toward the created, or are we going to tend toward God? It's not that one is bad, it's how are we going to use them. And so, through these acts of asceticism, we exert the soul's control. The soul is going to be the one who is in control of the body. The body will not make us a slave. The body will not make us do its bidding. But the soul, rather, will be the one riding on the horse. My father-in-law, he uses this example, and I think he's gotten it from the fathers in a time before cars. And he said, look out the window. Imagine a time when people rode on horses. And he said, if you saw a man riding a horse down the road, you wouldn't think of anything of that, right? Now let's say you saw a horse riding on a man down the street. That would catch your attention, wouldn't it? That would be a little bit strange because it's an improper order. The man and the horse are meant to be together. The horse is to provide transportation for the man, and the man is to control where he goes. But things have been turned upside down if the horse is riding the man, and the man is being led to and fro by the horse. This is an improper relationship. And I was reading in the Synaxarion today about this Cheese Fair Saturday, and the fathers say, again, going back to this time, before cars, and I didn't know this about horses, but they were saying that it's like a horse. If you try to bridle a horse, and it's not responding, it's not being tame, right? It's going wherever it wants. It won't take the bridle. It won't take direction. They say you give it a little less food. You give it a little less food. And this little bit less food, it reduces this kind of this out of bounds energy, right? That's uncontrollable. Just by giving it a little bit less food, not so that it starves or makes it weak, but just a little bit weaker. And this way, then you can put the bridle on, they say, and you can control the horse. So it's the same thing now with the fast, with the ascetics that we're celebrating today. A little bit less food, a little bit less rich food will calm our soul or calm our body and let our soul be on the driver's seat to guide us where to go and allow us to make choices that are toward God, are toward obedience to God. And finally, I'll say this, that there's something very, very beautiful about learning delayed gratification. So just as the fathers say, that God did not mean for man to never have the fruit of that tree, but that it should be at the proper time. The same with our fast. Our fasts are for a time. And then when Pascha comes, we celebrate. We don't just go back to normal ho-hum every day. We celebrate. Just as we fast, we feast, right? This delayed gratification is something that makes us human, that makes us endowed with reason in the image of God. Even the animals are able to have delayed gratification. Father Micah sent me an article this week. There was a new study about cuttlefish. Cuttlefish, I don't even know exactly what they are, but cuttlefish. And they developed this experiment, and they figured out what the two favorite foods of cuttlefish are. And they figured out this experiment where they would offer the cuttlefish their second favorite food. Then they would introduce the favorite food. And they started an experiment where once the fish learned where the second favorite food was available and where the favorite food was available, then they introduced, okay, you can have the second favorite right away, but you can have the favorite if you wait just a little bit. And the fish actually responded that they would wait up to 2 minutes with the second favorite sitting right in front of them. They would wait up to 2 minutes in order to get the favorite. Even cuttlefish can do this. Even cuttlefish can delay gratification, but we cannot. How is this possible? We've been reduced to the lowest level of the animal kingdom. We can't wait until Pascha? No, this is something good for our souls. And there's been studies actually on the correlation between delayed gratification and success in life for humans. We have to be able to learn delayed gratification. If we can't delay gratification from the food, how are we going to deal with all these other temptations, especially our kids? And let me just finish with this. I hear so many excuses. Well, my child, he can't fast. He can't fast because he's got to play football or he's got to play soccer or something like that. Okay, so you're not going to make him fast. Now tell me, when he's a teenager and he's in school and he has all these temptations in front of him, drugs, sexual immorality, all these things, would you like him to have learned to build up some antibodies, to strengthen some muscles for delayed gratification, to wait until a blessed marriage? Would you like him to learn these things so that he's prepared to deal with them? Or would you like him to learn from a young age that the rules don't apply to you? What we say about this and that and what you hear in church is just theory. We don't actually do it. don't want that. We want to learn delayed gratification so we can be at least at the level of the cuttlefish. God has made us in his image and likeness. Let's call ourselves to be at least like the cuttlefish, and in fact, even greater. Let's strive to emulate God himself. Let's strive to acquire the grace of God and to be the shining image of God, like the holy ascetics that we celebrate today. Amen.